I just want to open up this space to have a conversation with other women out there and maybe have conversations, you know? Hay veces que la vida te lleva a destinos donde nunca te habías imaginado y de mujer a mujer, así entre dos, puedes toparte con situaciones que te aleja de la familia o te empiezas a dar cuenta de que lo que más odiabas como joven te estás convirtiendo en. And lately, I've been having a lot of realizations with myself, and I think it's because as my baby gets older, I start to realize that, you know, life is not always about accomplishments, but I feel like they're also very shallow ideologies that society wants to install in you and pressure you into thinking that you need to compare yourself to other people, and if you don't have X, Y, and Z, then you're not happy or you're not successful. You're also growing and realizing, if you're a parent, that the things that maybe you have had as, you know, generational curses, you're either now breaking or you are replicating. And I think my 30s have been such a sweet spot for me, where I've been having so many realizations, but also awareness of who I am, first of all, who I want to be, and what I can be. Back when I was 20, I had this idea of, you know, I want to have a family. I want to be able to make X, Y, and Z amount of money. I want to have this big house, etc. And as time progressed, it's not so much that I haven't been able to accomplish those things, is that as I am working towards those things, I've realized that none of that SHIT matters. And the day that I was able to come up with this realization, it was like multiple days, but all within the sequence of within the same month. And number one, during that time, my son went on vacation with his dad. If you don't know, now you know. I co parent with my son's dad, and the relationship that we have as co parents, I wouldn't say it's the worst I've heard. If his dad was able to stay with the responsibility that he has on his plate, I would not be speaking about this, right? And I think as adults, as you grow, and if you're a parent, you have to realize that your child comes first. It's a hard realization, but you start to realize it once they start growing and they start communicating with you like, hey mom, I don't like this, and you're like, whoa, like I remember having all of these emotions and thoughts when I was a child. And then my family or my mom and my dad said X, Y, and Z. I don't want that for my kid, right? So I started realizing what I want for my kid and what I don't want for my kid. Anywho, they went on vacation. Cool, they're out there. And this is the longest I've been away from my son. It's 2 weeks. And I was like, in my head, I was like, prior to him leaving, I was like, oh, okay, 2 weeks, I can definitely start pouring my soul and energy into my business, which I did. But then as I came home and the house was lonely, I started realizing that life without my son has no meaning. And I didn't know how much meaning my son held in my heart until he was gone on vacation. And then I started questioning, what is the use of having all these materialistic things if what truly makes you happy are the moments that are priceless? Like, you know, having your kid give you a hug or give you a kiss, telling you that you're their best friends. You know, the moments that they get happy when they're able to pronounce a word, you know, etc. And at the time as a parent, I feel like you see these things and you're like, in the moment you're like, oh my god, these are like, you know, these are not easy things. Having to teach a kid how to read, teach a kid what to do, what not to do, and at times they often feel like chores, right, on top of your work and your day-to-day base and your day-to-day life. So then I really started questioning, like, what is the purpose of life if you're working a full-time job, and then this job just takes all of your time of day, just in order for you to make a certain amount of money that honestly, sometimes it's not even enough, right? In today's society. And then who's going to be taking care of your kids? Like, who is really raising your kids? Right? And then I started thinking about my parents, and I'm like, wow, like, they really did what they could with what they had. And honestly, my parents are are a great example of what hardworking parents are. But like every parent, we're not perfect, and there's certain things that they did that don't sit right with me. And I kind of just learned to accept that this is the way that, generational trauma from their past lot, from their parents, and and so on, from generations before, probably they just been reoccurring until, now here I am with my son. And I'm just like, I don't want those things for my son. I want to make sure that I'm able to like end it there. But as you start growing older, you begin to question, like, what is the purpose of life? And I know I'm going on a rant here, but I think all of this is going to come to one solid point. What is the purpose of life if you're not genuinely happy? Okay, this is another day during that month. I was like hearing a podcast. No, actually, it was a radio channel. I was listening to the radio, and I love to listen to Christian music every once in a while, or like a service, because I am very spiritual. And so then I was listening to this lady talk. It was like a Christian radio channel. And she was saying, like, you go in life and you want this, you want that, and now you have it. And you're like, well, now I want this, and you da. And then when you least expect it, you're already like 80 years old. And you've accomplished everything you had. But then you start realizing that every time you said, once I get this, I'm going to be so happy. And then you realize that you did achieve that. And then you were like, no, now I have to get this. And then I'm going to be really, really happy. When all along, you were the reason, you were the only responsible one to actually make yourself happy. None of these items, none of these things actually make you happy. You choose to be happy every day. And I was like, wow, like, what are the odds that this came out during that week when I was like questioning all of this, right? Weird? I don't think so. I think it was a message from God, from the universe, whatever you want to call it. And then I was like, that is so true. Like, what is the purpose of life if you are not happy? Nothing is going to buy you your happiness. Not a person, not an item, not a kid. Like, you make yourself happy. Days passed by. I was listening to a podcast now, and she was talking about projections, how people project, and they perceive their life through their lens. You have conversations with people that can sometimes influence you, and then they project on you, and therefore you believe X, Y, and Z. And how it's important for you to listen to conversations and see what really applies to you. But if it doesn't apply to you, not to take it personal, because nothing is personal. People are just living lives based on their lens that they're carrying in their head, and like, it's a mirror, right? So I was like, well, how interesting. And then I started realizing the people that I idolize and the people I want to be like. One, that's their journey. Two, I don't really want to be them. I just felt pressured by society to become like them, because society makes you think that you have to be doing this and that in order for you to be happy, and that's not true. I kind of started questioning who I hung out with and who I want to be. And then the more that I started digging into all of this, I started realizing that it's so hard to become the person that you want to be for your child. It's so hard to genuinely be happy. Like, I'm a happy person in general. But I would be lying to you if I said to you that there were times where I get flashbacks from my past, and it gets to me. And I think as you get older, you start to realize and question a lot, like, who you are. But I think it's important for all of us to remember that you decide to be who you are. You don't let people decide that for you. You decide to be happy. You don't let people, items, or events decide that for you, or accomplishments. I think that's a big one for a lot of people. I think that certain accomplishments make you feel like your identity is that accomplishment. And so when you're no longer accomplishing things, you feel loss of identity. So I just wanted to take the time to kind of like open chat, para las mujeres que a veces se encuentran en esta situación donde tienen esas preguntas de yo no quiero ser esta persona, yo quiero brindarle un mejor futuro a mi hijo, a mi hija, quiero ser feliz, genuinamente feliz, sin tener que fijarme en todas las metas que he logrado, porque las metas no definen mi identidad. Y quería hablar sobre esto, ya lo dije en inglés, pero lo voy a decir en español porque creo que es, o sea, le pasa a todos, no nomás a personas que hablan inglés. Creo que es importante que empiece a integrar el español en mis videos, porque hay veces que podemos llegar al corazón de alguien y no necesariamente cambiarle la vida, pero hacer sentir a esa persona que no están solos o solas y que todos pasamos por situaciones similares, y brindar ese sentido de comunidad donde todos podemos y estamos aquí y todo va a salir bien. El mensaje de hoy simplemente fue de que es importante saber quién eres, no dejar influenciarte por otras personas, por las proyecciones de otras personas, porque cada persona vive su vida y se encuentra en situaciones que lo hacen ser esa persona, y no porque esa persona le fue así acá, quiere decir que también a ti. Y es importante de que empieces a reconocer las cosas tus traumas que te han hecho la persona que eres hoy, traumas que a lo mejor no has sanado, que pueden influenciar cómo vas a crear a tus hijos. Y honestamente, solamente mirar que la felicidad está dentro de ti y que ser feliz no cuesta nada. O sea, no cuesta nada en cuestión de precio, ¿verdad? Cuesta mucho en cuestión de que tienes que hacer muchas reflejaciones de ti misma, etcétera. Que todos somos prestados en este mundo, no todos somos para siempre. Y que todos somos bendecidos de poder encontrar a las personas que nos hacen sonreír, pero que algún día puede que ya no estemos aquí. Y es importante vivir cada día con felicidad y gozar de todos esos momentos y de todas esas personas, porque uno nunca sabe cuándo esa persona ya no va a estar aquí. Pero sí, he tenido muchas estas conversaciones y creo que la sociedad de hoy en día te hace sentir como que necesitas que tener todas estas cosas para poder ser feliz, pero realmente lo único que tú necesitas para ser feliz es querer ser feliz, porque cuesta trabajo esforzarte de ser feliz. No es fácil. Si fuera fácil, todos fuéramos felices, pero no lo somos. El punto de la conversación solamente era que básicamente explicar que no estás solo o sola, que todos tenemos estos pensamientos que a lo mejor no los hablamos porque ponemos en las redes sociales que esta afronta de que tengo una vida espléndida, ¿verdad? Tengo un marido o un novio que me hace ser feliz, pero en realidad solo ponemos lo que queremos poner, porque no necesariamente ponemos todas nuestras derrotas o nuestros bajones. Y todo empezó cuando yo me di cuenta de que ser mamá es tan hermoso y ser feliz se ha convertido en una meta mía que nunca pensé que iba a ser necesaria. Yo pensé que todas mis metas iban a ser de logros y de cosas que puedo comprar y materialísticas. Y cuando en verdad me puse a pensar y me fui dando cuenta que la meta necesariamente, la neta, la meta que yo necesito es aprender a ser feliz con mi vida, agradecida y disfrutarla. But yeah, this is pretty much the whole rant that I had for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that we can, open conversation in the comments, or, maybe say something that can brighten people's day, just to kind of give a sense of community that we're not all alone and we're all here. And yeah, I think I'm gonna be having these like rant videos throughout the months, just because they bring a lot of joy to me, but also I think it's important to kind of have these conversations and talk about them, because it's not always easy to have your life together, and that's okay. We're all human, and social media has dehumanized a lot of people's lives, and I want to bring that element into my social media. I also want to bring, day-to-day life situations that are not glamorous, because that's really what most of the people are. Not everything is perfect. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me in my TED Talk. Gracias por asistir a este episodio de Conversaciones de Mujer a Mujer. Espero que les haya gustado. Es un poco difícil brincar de lenguaje en lenguaje, porque siento como que cuando empiezo a hablar el inglés y digo algo y luego lo cambio al español, la gente que habla inglés no va a entender en español y viceversa, ¿verdad? Pero ojalá que con el tiempo, cuando ya empiece a grabar un poco más, and then you're able to kind of join into these sessions, you'll be able to kind of grasp my Spanglish. As I'm still trying to figure out how to do this, I don't know if I have to like translate everything that I'm saying back and forth, or if I could just go Spanglish full on. Like, I'm thinking you're going to understand. So, vamos a ver cómo pasan las cosas aquí. Pero gracias por asistir a esta conversación y espero que tengan un bonito día. Y si te sentiste un poquito mal, espero que esto te haga sentir un poquito mejor. Recuerda que tú eres especial, recuerda que tú tienes el poder de cambiar tu vida. Y nunca es tarde de decidir a ser feliz. Y la vida es hermosa y lo puedes encontrar afuera de tu puerta, simplemente en una flor. Lo más bonito de la vida es eso, la vida. Cuesta trabajo mirarlo, aunque está enfrente de tus ojos, pero solo requiere paciencia y el querer. Los quiero mucho y hasta luego. Adiós.